Alrighty, let's get everyone in here. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitz on TV here, aka G Lauren 33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast. Today, we are going to be previewing and giving our predictions for WWE Extreme Rules 2020, and it's being marketed and advertised as the horror show. All right. Just like it's very symbolic because if you watch the main roster every single week, Raw and SmackDown, most weeks it's booked like an actual horror show. So I find it very symbolic. And Extreme Rules. It's the final pay-per-view before SummerSlam. So a lot of the stuff we see on this show will be leading us to SummerSlam in just a couple weeks. SummerSlam will not be taking place in Boston, unfortunately, because of what's going on with this pandemic. It will be taking place at the Performance Center in Florida, like all the other shows. And uh, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Can I honestly say I'm excited for Extreme Rules? No. You guys know I am brutally honest with you guys all the time. I am not excited for Extreme Rules at all. There is only one match. And if you guys watch this podcast, if you guys watch this channel, you guys know what match I'm excited for. It's the damn thumbnail for the video. Sasha Banks, the best female wrestler in the world, going up against Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. That is the only match I'm actually excited for on this show. We do have a lot of other things going on. We have Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler, which is going to be for the WWE Championship. Right now, it there was a funny thing. There was a funny thing. Somebody on Facebook. I don't know if this was the troll, because you guys know how WWE loves to troll us, but uh they put that the stipulation for Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler is going to be a TLC match. And WWE said, for this match, they wanted to do something that they'd never done before. TLC match is one of my favorite matches. Hell, they have a pay-per-view every December, that is booked as TLC, where you have, tables matches, ladders matches, chairs matches, TLC matches. So it doesn't make any sense to me, why they would actually do a TLC match if they're advertising this match as something special that we've never seen before. Hopefully, WWE's just trolling, but man, would they look dumb if they're actually just doing a TLC match. But we'll talk about that. We also have on SmackDown for the Universal Championship, or not. Well, it's not a Universal Championship match, but we have the Universal Champion Braun Strowman. He'll be going up against Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt in a swamp fight at the Wyatt compound, which I know WWE's filming that this week. So I'm actually very intrigued about this, just because of how great Bray Wyatt is. We'll talk about that on today's podcast. We also have MVP versus Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. We also have Bayley defending her SmackDown Women's Championship, her record-breaking SmackDown Women's Championship reign. She'll be defending against Nikki Cross. I don't think no, we don't have an IC title match for the show right now. I know we're getting Styles versus Matt Riddle on SmackDown in a couple days, which I'm not excited for. Not because I don't want to see it, it's because WWE should have saved that for SummerSlam. They're so desperate for ratings. They're gonna give away a SummerSlam match. They're gonna give away what a lot of people look at as a WrestleMania World Title match for free on SmackDown. Makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense there. Um, what else is on this show? I know we have Randy Orton versus Big Show, which was originally planned for Extreme Rules, but they're moving that to Monday Night Raw in an unsanctioned match, which I think is not a bad idea. Even though you can't get me excited for a Big Show match in 2020, but hey, it is what it is. Randy Orton's doing some of the best work of his career right now. So definitely, I'm just gonna watch it just because I review it here on the channel. Plus, I just love what Randy Orton's doing, and I feel like Randy Orton may most likely be the guy to take the WWE title off of Drew McIntyre. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we have Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio in a eye for an eye match. And we know that he was planning some CGI ending with all that. So that's the match card right now. Let me look to see. I haven't heard any other matches announced as of the moment. I don't think they're gonna be announcing. I know we have Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus, in that feud has run its course. It's been awful. If I'm being truly honest with you guys, but they're supposed to be going up against each other in a bar fight, which I'm not sure if that's this week on SmackDown or it's next week. It's not that I care, but yeah. But right now, there's only, let me see how many matches have been announced. One, two, three, 6 matches. So it's a small card, which I don't have a problem with. I do not have a problem with this being a small card. We know that Vince McMahon during this era of pandemic shows, he wants the pay-per-views not to be, 3 or 4 hours. It's just because. And this is the way it's gonna be till we have fans. I don't know what they're gonna do with SummerSlam. I feel like we could see what they did with WrestleMania, possibly making SummerSlam 2 nights long, because we know every title is going to be defended at SummerSlam. There are rumors saying they may do a 2 week SummerSlam event, so they might have like a SummerSlam night one, and then a week later they have SummerSlam night two. I don't think that's a good idea, because then it just feels like 2 different shows. If you're gonna do the whole 2 day format, which I'm not against, I would do a SummerSlam night one, SummerSlam night two, just like you did with WrestleMania, Saturday and Sunday, back to back. Get out of the way. All right. But this is not going to be a very long pay per view. I don't see it going past 3 hours. It's going to start around 7. It should be done before 10, in my opinion. Plus, we know that they're filming Mysterio and Ron's this week, and they're filming also Strowman and White Swamp fight this week as well. So those are going to probably be pretty long. McIntyre versus Ziggler has the chance to be really long, and I'm praying Sasha and Asuka get 20 to 30 minutes. Because definitely you guys hear me all the time, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot on the podcast today. It's going to be Sasha Banks and Asuka, two of the best female wrestlers in the world. And we know that the women's division is absolutely carrying WWE. Sasha and Bailey themselves are carrying WWE right now. So I believe that should honestly be the main event of the show. Nothing else has had more build than Sasha Banks and Asuka. And, even though most of us agree that Sasha's not going to win, we know that there's a bigger story plan at the end of the road. So we'll talk about Sasha Banks and Asuka probably a little bit later on in the podcast, just because I can spend a good 30 minutes talking about that. So I'll save that for a little bit later. Couple quick nuggets before we talk about the preview and predictions. If you guys didn't check out my Monday Night Raw review, that is live on the channel right now. It was really good. We went over the main event, which was the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, challenging Sasha Banks and Bailey for the tag team championships. Really great match. They got 25 minutes, even though I hate, how the main events have commercials, but it was really good. Go check out that review. I went really ham on that. It is live on the channel. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm using a new mic. I usually use my Yeti mic, but you guys should be able to tell this is the Elgato Wave. Um, it's the new mic from Elgato. I really enjoy it. Let me know, everybody that's in the stream right now, or if you guys are watching on demand, let me know in the comment section, how does the quality sound? On my end it sounds fine, but you guys are the listeners, so let me know how it sounds, please. But uh yeah. Also, really quick, did you guys watch NXT last night? All right, let me know. Because NXT, Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai absolutely burned down the house. Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic for both the NXT and North American titles. That was great. I really enjoyed that, but I didn't watch Fight for the Fallen. I did catch the end of Moxley versus Brian Cage. That was really good. We saw Darby Allen return last night. I'm very interested to see how the ratings are gonna go. Because Fight for the Fallen, they had been promoting this for weeks, and NXT, the counter that, they gave you 2 big title matches for the two biggest titles on the NXT brand, the women's title and the NXT slash North American title, which is merged right now because, Keith Lee won the winner take all match, you know, and they're setting up Karrion Cross. We know he's going to be the guy to take that NXT title away from Keith Lee. We just don't know when. I want Keith Lee to get a decent reign, and if you take the title off of Keith Lee too early, people are going to get pissed because people love Keith Lee. And the thing about it is, we didn't even see Adam Cole on NXT last week. I've been saying now Adam Cole's bound for the main roster, and you better have the rest of the Undisputed Era coming along with him. They could easily do an Adam Cole versus Keith Lee rematch, and it would be a damn good match, but it would be pretty much a waste of time because we all know that Keith Lee's not losing that title. The only person that's taking that title off of Keith Lee is Karrion Cross. I don't know if they're gonna do, both titles or just one title. I would just do one title, just because, the North American and the NXT championships should not be merged. They should be separate. The North American championship is for the mid card. The NXT championship is for the what's it called? The main event scene. It's that simple. All right. Um, and Tegan Knox versus Io Shirai. You guys should know I have become a very big fan of Tegan Knox. She reminds me of Sami Zayn when he was the face of NXT many, many years ago. All right, I love Tegan Knox. I love her personality. I love her character. She has that underdog mentality, and I would have not been mad if Tegan Knox had became the NXT Women's Champion last night because I love Tegan Knox, but I knew it wasn't going to happen because this was Io's first title defense, and you're not taking that title off Io, not yet. Probably not until the end of the year. And then it was a great, great match. Had limited commercials, and Tegan lost at the end. But the bigger story here was Dakota Kai. A lot of people, like myself, I predicted that Dakota Kai would be the first to go after Io Shirai and the NXT Women's Championship. But they decided to go with Tegan Knox just because it was a fantastic match. But clearly, Dakota Kai attacked Io after the match, and that's going to be, going forward. You've been building Dakota Kai up for months, and definitely I see her feuding with Io for the next couple months. Going into the end of the summer, early fall. I don't see Kai taking the title off of Io, but definitely it's going to be something to see. All right, I'm looking in the chat right now. Avi, yes, I agree with you, Avi. I agree with you. I don't want to see Keith Lee lose the NXT title. He's gonna lose it to Karrion Cross eventually, but I feel like we should save that probably for maybe near the end of the year. Same thing with Io. Io and Keith should not be losing those titles until the end of the year. If you want to take the North American Championship off Keith, fine, because honestly, those titles should be separate. It's just Vince McMahon wanted to do something to counter against AEW, which we'll just have to wait and see for the ratings which come out later this afternoon. I'm very intrigued about that because you guys have seen the main roster numbers have not been good at all. They have been terrible. Raw did a 1.5, and some people were trying to blame that on Sasha Banks. Like, no, the show started with a 1.5 and it went back up to a 1.5 for the main event. You didn't lose any viewers for the main event. The viewership for the main event actually went up because everyone knows Sasha Banks and Bailey are the best thing in the entire main roster right now. They are carrying this company on its backs. The reason why the ratings are so bad is one, Bruce Pritchard sucks. Two, the creative team, they're not allowed to be creative because Vince McMahon strikes down every single unique idea that they have. And three, wrestling's not essential. It's going to probably be like this till things get back to normal, whenever that is. It's just the fact of the matter. Wrestling's not essential. There's nothing big going on right now. Nothing big is going on in WWE right now. We just got to be honest. Just got to be honest, man. So you can say the same thing about NXT and AEW. They aren't doing anything special. Nothing that's grabbing our attention. It's just right now WWE going, through the motions. They're not doing any special storylines other than, uh excuse me, other than Sasha Banks and Bailey. But they're not doing anything that's like, wow, I have to watch every single week. They're just doing what they have to do to survive this pandemic. And hopefully, when things get back to normal, whenever that is, that's when WWE is going to ramp it up. But you can tell Vince doesn't give a crap. He just cares about, making sure the company's making money and they're not getting criticized for their COVID-19 protocol. And if you guys see, WWE's doing a lot better. You haven't seen people really complaining about the COVID-19 protocol as of right now. But if you look at some of the other things going on in the community right now, wrestling is not essential at the moment. It really isn't. And if you guys understand what, and I see what you said. Real deal Stewart says apparently Vince left Monday's Raw taping. That's just fact. It's factual. If you think about it, at the end of the day, it's factual. He doesn't care as long as the company's continuing to make money. Like somehow Vince is still making money through this pandemic, probably because of the $1 billion deal Fox is giving him. You know, if you look at it, WWE, Vince doesn't give a crap if the ratings are low. He doesn't, because WWE is just going to use the excuse that we're in a pandemic, and that's the reason why people aren't watching. It's that simple. It's that simple. Okay, Real Deal Stewart says, personally, I think Bailey and Sasha are the equivalent to Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. Sasha is talented and tolerable like Drew, and Bailey for me is just unbearable like Shane. Just my opinion. I respect your opinion, bro. I know a lot of people find, Bailey. Some people also find Sasha. They find them annoying, and that's just their character. Bailey's supposed to be that cocky heel that gets under your skin, but she can back it up. She can back it up at every single show, right? Every time Bailey's in the ring, sometimes if Bailey's just wrestling, like an Alexa Bliss or a Lacey Evans, it's not good because who gives a crap? But when, you guys saw it a couple weeks ago when Bailey wrestled Asuka in the last 30 minutes of Raw, that was fantastic. It was great because Bailey always brings her best when she actually cares about what's happening. When Bailey cares about something, when she's invested, that's when she does her best work. Sasha, she's always going hard. Always going hard. Like I always say here on the podcast, if you go to each one of those main roster female talent and you ask them who was your best wrestling match against, 9 out of 10 times they're gonna say Sasha. And if they don't, they're retarded and they're stupid. It's that simple. All right. But like I said, just to finish up what I was saying about NXT, I can't wait to see what the ratings are for that. But honestly, man, Vince just doesn't give a crap. He doesn't give a crap at the end of the day. And I'm just trying to learn to accept that. I'm gonna keep covering, Raw and SmackDown like I always do. I'm always gonna be honest. I'm always gonna be give you guys the honest truth because you guys know there's a bunch of casual fucks in the community that don't know what the hell they're saying. But I'm always gonna be real and authentic and organic on this podcast, no matter what. No matter what, always gonna give you guys the cold hard facts, no matter if we're in a pandemic or not. When things get back to normal, hopefully WWE ramps it up whenever that is. We heard rumors that they're trying to do, live shows by the end of September. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say it does happen. Hopefully, then, there's no excuse for WWE at that point. Right now, the reason why I don't, go off is because they're in a pandemic. And I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm not because they're the ones that are choosing to, continue doing television and pay-per-views every single week. Like, I'm gonna criticize them. But at the end of the day, you gotta understand they just don't care. They just don't care. Unless Fox or USA Network, one of those networks, threaten to, cancel their deal and things of that nature, they're not gonna care. They're just gonna do what they do. If the company's doing well, Vince is gonna take all the credit. If the company's messing up, Vince is gonna blame it all on Bruce. You guys know the drill by now. I say this all the time because it's factual. All right. But with that being said, definitely let's talk about Extreme Rules. And basically, almost everything I just said in the first 20 minutes, you can say about Extreme Rules. The build for Extreme Rules has not been great. Outside of Sasha Banks and Asuka, the build for this show has been terrible. It's been terrible. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler doesn't make sense. Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio had so much potential, and I feel like they fucked up on that. I feel like they made the focus too much about Mysterio and Rollins when they should have put the focus on Dominic. Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, I'm not invested into that. I love Bray Wyatt. I feel like he's amazing, but I haven't cared about Braun Strowman all year. He should have never been Universal Champion in the first place. I'm just waiting for the Fiend to take that title off of him. And if they choose not to, then Wyatt's officially buried in my eyes. And like what else is on this card? MVP versus Apollo Crews. I don't really care about that. I love the way the new United States Championship looks, but they already messed up with that review. And Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Let's be serious. Nobody believes Nikki Cross is going to defeat Bayley. Just like nobody believes that Dolph Ziggler is going to beat Drew McIntyre. It's just the honest truth. The build for Extreme Rules has been terrible. It's been awful. It's starting to be going through the motions. Look at SummerSlam. The SummerSlam build has already started, and you've already heard Edge versus Randy Orton 3, which was supposed to take place at SummerSlam, is not going to happen because Edge is still recovering with the triceps injury. You look at what is it? Brock Lesnar was supposed to be on the SummerSlam card. Right now, it looks like Lesnar is not going to be on the card just because WWE doesn't want to bring him in to the Performance Center because there's no fans. Even though I would love to see Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley finally see that dream match happen, they're not going to bring him in. WWE doesn't care. They're going through the motions, honestly. And if you guys cannot see this with the way Extreme Rules has been built, then you're just a blind bat. You're just a blind bat. And it's going to be interesting to see. Will they do the same thing for the SummerSlam build? How much is Vince actually going to care for the SummerSlam build? If you guys look at how Backlash was built, you guys look at how Money in the Bank was built, even though I did like what they did with the whole corporate ladder thing, that was unique. And the match itself was pretty entertaining. And if you look at what the Extreme Rules build has been, outside of Sasha and Asuka, the build has not been good at all. At all. But like I said, outside of Sasha Banks and Asuka, Extreme Rules has not been a good build. It'll probably be a decent show. I gotta be honest here. WWE 90% of the time, the builds for their pay-per-views are awful. But for some reason, the pay-per-views itself are actually decent to good. I gotta be honest with you guys. You guys know I don't lie. For the most part, when it comes to the pay-per-views themselves, the pay-per-views are actually good. We get good wrestling, we get, good finishes, and for the most part, it's a decent to good show. It's just that the builds themselves are awful. It feels like, WWE cares more about the result than the actual race. WWE cares more about the checkered flag and the finish more than the actual laps it takes to get to the finish. I don't understand why that's their mentality, but for some reason they make it work. I sit here every single month, Sleeping Angels and the rest of you guys in the chat that watch me every single week, every single month, every single year. I bitch, I moan and complain about the shows and the builds and how terrible they are. And then when it comes to the review itself, I sit back here in this chair, I sit in my room, I sit behind this mic, sit behind this laptop, and I say, hey, the pay-per-view was actually not as bad as the build made it look. I don't know why. And they're building this as the horror show. The horror show, right? And like I said, the main roster 90% of the time is a horror show. The build for this pay-per-view outside of Sasha and Asuka is a horror show. But for some reason, I have a feeling that when I sit here Sunday night, I'm going to be like, hey, that show wasn't that bad. I'll probably have to give the pay-per-view a B or higher. Like, let's be serious here, people. Let's be serious. Let's be serious here. I'm going to go through this card. I'm going to talk about each match and how the build didn't make sense. And then when we sit here, we're going to be like, oh, Drew McIntyre versus Dolph. That was pretty good. Oh, that swamp fight, that cinematic swamp fight. That was pretty good. Oh, Rollins versus Rey Mysterio. The CGI wasn't that bad. Sasha versus Asuka, that's self-explanatory. Let's be serious. The real horror show is not Extreme Rules. As bad as the build has been, the real horror show is Raw and SmackDown every single week. Because Raw and SmackDown, every Monday, every Friday, we have to sit there for 5 hours out of our week and absolutely go through torture. We gotta be strapped into our chairs. We have belt buckles and everything, and it's absolute horror watching the way WWE books these shows. But then the pay-per-views themselves, Extreme Rules, it's probably not even gonna be a horror show. It's probably gonna be a decent show at best. Maybe even a good show. Gotta be honest. Gotta be honest. Did you guys watch my karaoke SmackDown review? That was a horror show. That was torture. Oh, someone just texted me. Hold up. But just being honest. Sorry, I just had to answer a text. But hey, just being honest here. Extreme Rules will probably be a good show. It's Raw and SmackDown that is the real horror show. All right. But man, let's dive in. Let's finally dive in to this actual match card. And I'm gonna save. I know this is a pro Sasha Banks channel. We'll save Sasha Banks and Asuka for last. All right, because I'm probably gonna talk about that for a good 20 minutes. My barber keeps texting me. Anyway, let's go to it. Which match should we start off first? All right, we'll start off with Bailey versus Nikki Cross. Let's get that out of the way. Sorry, my barber keeps texting me. I was supposed to get a cut today. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's start with Bailey versus Nikki Cross. Bailey, longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. And one thing that I found very interesting, I don't know if you guys watch The Bump. It's WWE's weekly show. It's actually pretty popular. This week they're celebrating women's evolution. And you saw that we had Sasha Banks and Bailey going up against the Kabuki Warriors. We also saw Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai. It's going to be kind of interesting. Will we get a women's main event tomorrow? Who knows? That could be very interesting. Maybe if you look at it, the freaking SmackDown women's roster is absolutely terrible. Raw has an all-star women's roster, even though they don't know how to book it half the time. Raw has an all-star women's roster. SmackDown's is legit. Sasha Banks, Bailey, Nikki Cross, Alexa, and everybody else. That's it. That's legit it for SmackDown's women's roster. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised. Watch them have Sasha Banks and Bailey defend the women's tag team titles just because it's Women's Evolution Week. Hopefully I'm wrong because I don't want to. Every time Sasha Banks has a title match, I freaking sit back in my chair and I go like this the entire match because I'm nervous and I start pacing. But hey, but you're probably right, real deal. AJ versus Riddle will probably main event SmackDown. Yeah. I forgot that match was happening tomorrow night. Even though I believe personally that Baron Corbin will probably interfere. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. Bailey's the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion, and like I was saying with the bump, Nikki Bella said something. I wish I had the clip pulled up. I would have played it for you guys. But Nikki Bella said something about Sasha Banks on the bump, and actually, I think I can pull it up on my phone this week right now. If you guys just give me a second. But but there was a really good clip. She talked about how Becky, Charlotte, and Bailey have all had, runs at the top. But the only member of the four horsewomen that hasn't really had that run was Sasha Banks. And the feel that, the second I heard this, I was like, Nikki Bella, you've won my support for life. You've won my support for life. Just because Nikki Bella is smarter than most of the people running the show. I think I have the clip right here.
Honestly, I know we've seen a lot of her, but I don't think we've ever to her full potential is Sasha Banks. I think we always get her at her best a little bit, but I want to see what Becky and Charlotte have done. I know what we could get out of Sasha. And I think there's so much more in Sasha Banks that we can use in the women's division. And Sasha to me has always had it. And she's someone who I could see crossed over to mainstream. I just see a lot with her. And honestly, like,
All right, it was about 30 seconds, but you know, I've been thinking about that since all day, since yesterday, basically. And I was like, wow, the actual wrestlers know better than WWE. What do I say every single podcast, like 10 to 15 times? And some people find it annoying, but most of you guys agree with me because it has to be said. I have to continue reminding you guys. Sasha Banks is the best female wrestler in the world! Exclamation point. I say it every single podcast, every single review, because it's factual. And Nikki Bella knows this. Sasha Banks is the only member of the Four Horsewomen, and she's the best member of the Four Horsewomen by a mile. But she's the only one that's never had, the ball and never been allowed to run with it. Bayley, she's the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. She's had 2 title reigns that have been almost a year. Who else? Charlotte, 12 title reigns. As garbage as Charlotte is, she has 12 title reigns. And you guys remember, Charlotte was the one that actually defeated Nikki Bella. Remember, Nikki Bella had the record-breaking Divas title reign, and then Charlotte won it. And then Charlotte basically went on to be champion for a year until her and Sasha had their great feud in 2016, when Sasha should have never lost at Hell in a Cell, but we don't talk about that because I had to go watch that match live. And Becky was on top of the women's division for a year and a half. A year and a half. From SummerSlam 2018 all the way to Money in the Bank when she announced she was pregnant. Becky was the top dog in the women's division alongside Ronda Rousey. Sasha's the only person that has never been given the ball and run with it. Yes, if Sasha was to retire today, she would be glorified as one of the greatest of all time. She would be viewed as a history maker, one of the faces of the women's revolution. The record books would say she was a 7-time champion, right? NXT Women's Champion, 4-time Raw Women's Champion, 2-time Tag Team Champion. And everyone would say all these great things about her. But people like me, who are always reminding those damn casual fucks, will always be like, yeah, yes, the record book says Sasha's one of the greatest of all time, but she's never had the rocket propelled on her back and she was sent flying. She's never been given that chance. This is the way Sasha's been booked since this whole house pandemic era started. This is the best Sasha has been booked since she first came up from NXT. What she's doing right now with Bayley as a heel tag team, she's carrying the company and the women's division on her back. And yet, she still has never been given that rocket. We still see, even though Sasha is carrying the company right now alongside Bayley, there's still levels that she can go beyond. Sasha has every making to be the top star, not only in the women's division, but in the damn company. She has the entire package. She has the entire package, bro. And the thing about it is, man, I'm just waiting. Why can't Sasha get that 1-year title reign that Becky has, that Charlotte has, that Bayley's going through right now? And that brings me, and you guys are wondering, well, hey, Fitz, weren't you supposed to be talking about Bayley versus Nikki Cross? Yes. Where do you guys think I'm going with this? Sasha Banks is not going to defeat Asuka, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the podcast. Sasha Banks is going to defeat Bayley. Sasha's going to be the one. She's the only one that can take that SmackDown Women's title off of her. Bayley's not losing to Nikki Cross. I like Nikki Cross. I really do. Nikki Cross, on the main roster has never really gotten into the level she was in NXT because on the main roster, they've made Nikki Cross look like Alexa Bliss's twin sister. The way they dress, the way her character is, the way her gimmick is. Over the last couple months, Nikki's starting to, get on a roll again. She's starting to finally find some kind of stride with her character. And I'm seeing signs of the Nikki Cross from NXT. I feel like Nikki Cross will put in a great performance this Sunday against Bayley, but she's not ready. She's not ready to be a SmackDown Women's Champion. This is just because Bayley needs to defend the belt, and we haven't seen Bayley defend the SmackDown Women's title since Money in the Bank back in May. We all know Bayley is not losing. She's not. The only person that can take that SmackDown Women's title off of Bayley is Sasha Banks. There was a point in time where I thought maybe it could be Sonya Deville because with the way Sasha Banks and Bayley are rolling, and they have reignited and brought the women's tag team division to be the best division on all three shows. Yes, I'm including NXT in that. Maybe WWE wants to hold off on Sasha Banks and Bayley. Maybe. I don't know. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to Sasha and Asuka, but I don't know. But thing is, we haven't seen Sonya Deville the last couple weeks. And I know that's because of, something happened with Total Divas and uh, uh Lana had like some kind of party on a boat, and then Lana's parents ended up getting COVID-19, and all the women on that boat are now in quarantine because of what happened. So, and I also heard rumors saying WWE's potentially wants to do like a Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville hair match because that feud still hasn't ended. So maybe they're saving that for SummerSlam. I don't know. So that's why we haven't seen Sonya for the last couple weeks. So for there was a moment where I thought maybe if Sasha and Bayley are going to stay as a tag team for right now, maybe you could build Sonya Deville to take that title off her, make a new star. But hey, you know, uh, it is what it is. It is what it is. I like Sonya Deville. I just feel like they're holding off on her push for now. All right. Uh, these people keep texting me. All right. Anyway, let's get back into it. But yes, back to Bayley. Nobody's taking that title off of Bayley unless it's Sasha Banks. It's that simple. It really is that simple at the end of the day. Like I said, I thought it could be Sonya Deville for a couple seconds there, but at least right now, Sonya's not ready. She's not there yet. She could be there soon, but she's not there yet. Sasha's the only person on the SmackDown Women's division that's taking that title off of Bayley. Nikki Cross will give a good effort. It'll probably be a decent match, but Bayley will successfully defend her women's title. It might even open the show for all we know. Moving on, we have for the United States Championship Apollo Crews versus MVP. A couple weeks ago, it was revealed that MVP debuted the new United States Championship, which I gotta say looks absolutely beautiful. The title looks beautiful. It's a great looking title, but WWE's already fucked up with the new United States title. Here's the thing, Paul Heyman, he didn't care about the ratings on Monday Night Raw. He cared about building the next generation of stars, building up Austin Theory, building up Ricochet, building up Cedric Alexander, building up Humberto and Aleister Black and Apollo Crews. And then Vince got so impatient, he fired Paul Heyman, brought in Bruce. And like I said, Bruce hasn't done anything to make Monday Night Raw better. The only reason why Raw is doing okay at all is because Sasha Banks and Barry have been carrying all three shows for the last 2-3 months. Apollo Crews, man, Paul Heyman put a lot of investment into that character, into him, and Vince just doesn't give a crap. Here's the thing: you had MVP debut the new U.S. title, was like I said, it looks absolutely beautiful, but the fact that they had it debut by MVP, who is not even the U.S. champion at the moment, this shows that Vince doesn't care about Apollo. Apollo's not winning this Sunday. He's not. The last couple weeks, MVP has been walking around with that new U.S. championship. It's like he's already the U.S. champ. Apollo hasn't been seen on Raw in about 3 weeks. I know they have him selling some injuries to Bobby Lashley, but it's like he's not even the U.S. championship. It's like they're just waiting to Extreme Rules to make MVP officially the U.S. champ. and to retire the old belt for good. Like, how disrespectful could you be to Apollo Crews? Like, seriously, how disrespectful could you be to Apollo Crews? You couldn't wait? If you really wanted to take the title off of Apollo, which I don't agree with anyway, MVP, as good as MVP and Bobby Lashley have been on Monday Night Raw, Apollo should not be losing the US title. You should be using Apollo to elevate that title by having him defend it every single week, like John Cena and AJ Styles did in the past. But no, you had MVP debut the new US title before even becoming the US champion. That just tells me that Vince didn't care what Paul Heyman was doing with Apollo or any of the new stars on Monday Night Raw. That tells me that you couldn't wait to take that title off of Apollo. It's sad. It truly is. Vince doesn't care about building up new stars. Why do you think we see a Big Show and a Ric Flair on Monday Night Raw in 2020, getting more airtime than most of the young stars combined? It's ridiculous. You don't care about Apollo Crews, so you're gonna disrespect him while he's currently holding the U.S. title by debuting a new modernized U.S. title. You couldn't wait to take the title off him before debuting the new belt. It's like you're saying, hey, Apollo's not US champ anymore. Forget about him. Like I said, Apollo's not winning this Sunday. They're just waiting till Extreme Rules to make it official. Like I said, MVP should not be wrestling in 2020. He should be a manager. He should be running a stable. But instead, this is what they rather do. This shows you how Vince doesn't care about making new stars, and it's disrespectful. You know, it could be a good match, but at the end of the day, who cares? MVP is winning this, and I am 100% on that. 100%. There was a moment where I thought maybe MVP loses, and then they just do Bobby Lashley versus Apollo, maybe at SummerSlam, but I don't see them going down that route. MVP is already the US champion in my eyes. And I hate that I have to say that, but that's just the perception you get by watching the show. They're just waiting till Sunday to make it official. Hell, we haven't even seen Apollo in 3 weeks. It's like he's not even the champ. We're just waiting for Sunday to make it official. Really, MVP is gonna win this match pretty easily. Come on. Moving on, we have the eye for an eye match: Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio. I said this when this feud started, way back after WrestleMania. I think it started after WrestleMania. No, it was after Money in the Bank. My bad. No. Well, I think Backlash. And see, I'm getting all my shows wrong. Started after Backlash. Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio has the chance to be a really good story, one of the best storylines of the whole year, especially in this pandemic era. But WWE fucked up. WWE fucked up with the way they went around this story. It's a simple story, but they messed it up. You decided to get Dominic involved. And like I said at the beginning when this whole feud started, just go back to watch Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio's feud from the end of last year. Even though we all knew Rey Mysterio was not taking that title off of Brock Lesnar, it was still a great story. You had Dominic get involved, and we all remember the Survivor Series match with Lesnar and Mysterio and Dominic, and getting involved. It made you for a second almost think that Mysterio was going to win the WWE Championship. It was good. It was really good. And you brought in Dominic to this story. And I was like, all right, you should make this story about Dominic, not about Ray. And I pitched that they should do something like Dominic faces off against Seth at Extreme Rules. And if Dominic loses, he's forced to join Rollins' Messiah clan. They decided not to go down that direction. Whatever, you know. But now they're going down this whole eye for an eye CGI crap. And like I said, if you guys have ever watched, any movie in CGI for one is super expensive, right? And two, you have to be very, very good at it to make it work. Because just one little slip up and it can look terrible, terrible. I don't remember, any instances, at least not on the top of my head, where we've seen WWE use CGI. Now, maybe somebody in the chat can remind us, but you know, I don't know. I can't really think of it. It's gonna be interesting to see how they do it, but clearly, the way they're setting this up is Rey Mysterio is gonna lose. Seth's gonna win. Rey Mysterio's gonna lose, and that was pretty much made clear on Monday when they had Kevin Owens, who is not even on the pay per view this Sunday, when they had Kevin Owens stun and beat Rollins clean 1, 2, 3 with all the baby faces at ringside. Clearly, they're letting you know that Rollins is gonna get his payback and he's gonna win. Like I said, I feel like the direction of this was all wrong. They should have done uh Dominic versus Seth and then have Seth win and Dominic forced to join Rollins' Messiah clan. And maybe at SummerSlam, Ray comes back and fights for Seth Rollins. Or not for Seth Rollins, fights to get his son back from Seth Rollins. I felt like that would have been a much better storyline for this whole situation. And if you guys look at it, Rey Mysterio is not under contract with WWE right now. He's not. And Real Deal Stewart, you're doing a really good job of letting people know in the comments or in the chat, what's going on. Rey Mysterio is not under contract. His contract expired about uh what was it? I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago. His contract expired, and there was a bunch of articles going on saying Ray was resigning, or Vince McMahon wanted to give Ray a raise, but he declined. Yada yada yada. We don't really know what's going on with Ray's contract right now. But last thing I checked is Ray is right now working without a WWE contract, even though WWE is still paying him. And the way I look at it. Ray is an older man. I don't know where he's gonna go. I don't see him going to an AEW. Maybe he might go to Ring of Honor or New Japan just because he wants to have a couple more matches. But other than that, I feel like the most likely scenario would be Rey Mysterio retiring, and then really just focusing on training his son, and building up Dominic to carry out the future of the Mysterio family legacy. That's the way I see it. And the way, if you look at it, Rey Mysterio not being under contract, and then Owens beating Seth Rollins clean on Monday. And they already have Ray selling, the eye patch injury. Clearly, they're gonna use this CGI eye for an eye match to write Mysterio off of WWE TV permanently. Like I said, it's CGI. No one's actually gonna lose an eye here. But they're gonna use this to take Mysterio off of WWE TV. Could they have Seth win? I mean, not Seth win. Could they have Seth lose? And then, they give him the eye patch, just to add another layer to his character? Sure. But at the end of the day, Rey Mysterio is the legend. Seth has said from the start, Mysterio being gone, Mysterio being sacrificed is for the greater good in the future of Monday Night Raw. Which still, at the end of the day, I still have no idea what the hell is the greater good. Seth, after all these months of being the Messiah and carrying out this gimmick, I still don't understand what the hell that's supposed to mean. But, but, it, everything indicates that Ray's gonna leave per storyline. And maybe down the line, when Ray eventually gets introduced into the WWE Hall of Fame, he'll reveal that it was all for storyline, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. Maybe he'll even have an eye patch just to sell the injury. Who knows how they can do it? But clearly, if Seth is staying with WWE, right? We know at the end of the year, Seth will probably take time off because we know Becky Lynch is pregnant, and he's going to take time off to for Becky's delivery and spend time with his newborn child. But at the end of the day, Seth's not leaving WWE. Ray probably is. Makes the most sense that they're gonna have Ray put Seth over on his way out the door. It's gonna add another layer to Seth's character, right? And then Seth's character could say, "Oh, he sacrificed Ray for the greater good." A lot of us want to see Seth Rollins versus Edge, and that's clearly not going to happen right now, especially with Edge's injury, his triceps, and probably because they have to finish off Edge versus Randy Orton at some point. And we will talk a little bit about Edge and Randy Orton in a little bit because I think that pertains also to what's going on with Drew McIntyre and the WWE Championship. But clearly, they can have Seth go on like Seth takes out, legends. Not like he's Randy Orton's legend killer, but he takes out legends because it's for the greater good. Raw has to evolve and new talent needs to come in and be the future. It's pretty much it's that simple. It really is that simple at the end of the day. Will it be a good match? I've heard rumors that it is going to be a cinematic fight, just like Wyatt and Strowman's going to be. We'll just have to wait and see how it all goes down. But hey, at the end of the day, Seth's gonna win this match. They pretty much confirmed that on Monday with Owens winning. Seth's gonna win this match. And if they want, they can continue going down the storyline with Seth versus Dominic if they want to, going into SummerSlam. But clearly, this is going to be used as Rey Mysterio is leaving WWE. He's not even under contract at the moment. They're going to have Rey put Seth over. Seth's going to take out Rey Mysterio with the CGI eye. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it. But that's how it's going to be done. It's that simple. Like I said, I felt like it would have been better if WWE had it where it would be Seth versus Dominic and Ray needs to fight to get his son back. But, they're not going down that direction. It is disappointing, but, you know, this is the route they decided to go down. And like I said, it could be a really good match. It could be a really good cinematic fight. I'm more intrigued about how it's going to end because, like I said, just one little slip up with the CGI, and it's going to look terrible. It really is. For the most part, WWE has done a pretty good job. Uh, you know, with the cinematic matches, with not Strowman, with Wyatt versus Cena in the Firefly Funhouse match, with the Boneyard match with Taker and Styles. The Viking Profits one was garbage, but they done an overall good job with these cinematic matches. The Money in the Bank match was good. Like it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Even though I see Sleeping Angels. You say Seth is a pirate. Yes, Seth is a pirate. They could honestly. I feel like Seth rocking an eye patch would be pretty cool for his character. I just don't see them going down that direction. It makes the most sense for Ray to get his eye removed per storyline per CGI. Like I said, it's gonna be very interesting to see how they do it and how it comes off. It's gonna be very interesting you know. But let me know what you guys think. Steph's gonna win. I'm pretty sure about that. Feel like they could have done a little bit better with the storyline itself, but Steph's gonna win. Pretty clear on that front. All right, moving on. Moving on. We have for the WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler. The way WWE has booked, I say this for the most part, Drew McIntyre has looked like a dominant WWE champion. I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. He's looked like a dominant I messed up. A dominant WWE champion. He beat Seth Rollins. He beat Bobby Lashley. Could the storylines have been better? Yes, but WWE, for the most part, as WWE champion. But the thing about it is, I love Drew McIntyre, but I don't care about Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. You moved Dolph Ziggler over to Raw in that trade, right? You traded Bobby Lashley, or not Bobby Lashley, Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler to Monday Night Raw for AJ Styles, which still I don't find as a fair trade, but whatever, right? You decided to make that move. The first thing you do on his first night, they didn't even build him up. His first night, you decide to have him challenge Drew McIntyre. Not even a number one contenders match. He just walks out and he thinks he's entitled. He says, "You owe me a WWE Championship match." And Drew just says, "Okay, okay, yeah, we were once best friends. I'll give you a WWE Championship match." I'm just like, huh? This is how we book in WWE title matches? This is a prime example of Vince McMahon not caring. When I talked about early in the podcast how Vince doesn't care, this is a prime example. Drew McIntyre is the WWE champion, and he's not even in the number one storyline on Monday Night Raw. I said this a couple weeks ago. John Cena, CM Punk, Undertaker, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, some of the greatest WWE champions of all time. Whenever they held the WWE title, whatever they were doing was the number one program on Monday Night Raw. Hell, I saw a WWE upload on their YouTube channel. Remember when John Cena faced R-Truth at Capital Punishment back in 2011 for the WWE title? Hell, everyone knew that R-Truth was not going to defeat John Cena for the WWE Championship. He had no chance in hell. That was still the number one story on WWE television. It was still the number one story on Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre, you are the WWE champion. You are holding the number one title in the entire wrestling industry. And his storyline is not even the number one thing on WWE television. Sasha Banks versus Asuka is the best thing on Monday Night Raw right now. Randy Orton and what he's doing with the Legend Killer gimmick is more important than what Drew McIntyre is doing with the WWE Championship. I always say this. The WWE champion should be starting and ending the show. That's what they always did back when Cena and Punk and all those other names I mentioned a couple seconds ago when they were holding the WWE championship. Drew's second rate, as great as Drew is, and he's been booked for the most part as a great WWE champion. He's not the most important thing on his show. He's not the most important thing on his brand. And that's disappointing. And that's what Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is great in the ring. It's going to be a fantastic match. We've seen Drew versus Dolph Ziggler so many times over the years. So many times. It's going to be a really good match, no matter what the stipulation is. But at the end of the day, no one gives a crap. Dolph should not even be facing Drew for the WWE Championship. This match should not be happening. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-star classic. The match makes no sense. This is a filler match for Drew. This is just to get him to SummerSlam. I've seen nobody, no way, not even the casuals themselves, not even diehard Dolph Ziggler fans, if there is any Dolph Ziggler fans out there, which I know there is, not even them are giving Dolph a chance. Everyone knows Drew is going to destroy him. You can make this a Drew McIntyre blindfolded match, and people would still say that Drew is 100% going to win. You need to fix that problem. As great as Sasha Banks and Asuka is, and I believe that the Women's Championship, no matter if it's the Raw Women's Championship or the SmackDown Women's Championship, they should be equal to the WWE and the Universal titles because those are the top titles for your women's division. And you want the women's division to look equal to the men's division. But like I said, Drew McIntyre and whatever he's doing on WWE programming as the WWE champion should be number one. It's not even top two. Nobody cares about this Dolph Ziggler storyline. You brought in Heath Slater, and that was a great moment last week. Good for Heath to get, some kind of closure with his WWE run. And I know Drew McIntyre pitched to have that segment happen, and it was great. Heath cut a really good promo. And I wish him all the best in Impact. But he did nothing for the story. There was nothing you could do that was gonna make us believe that Dolph was gonna beat Drew at uh at Extreme Rules. It's just that simple. Oh, excuse me. You guys, I just heard the grumbling in my stomach. But you look at it for SummerSlam. It was originally planned that they were gonna do Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre in a WrestleMania rematch. And like I said, I didn't have a problem with that because I feel like WrestleMania, Drew and Dolph, or not Drew and Dolph, Drew and Brock, that match could have gone 20 more minutes and only went 5. It could have been great. Could have been great. And like I said, Drew and Brock, for what it was a good match, but we all know they could have gone miles further. So if you did Drew versus Brock at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship, they probably would be given a lot more time, and it would be a really good match. But the thing about it is nobody wants to see that. Not because they don't want to see Drew versus Brock. It's because we're in a pandemic. It's not good. It's not going to make or break the SummerSlam card. At the end of the day, right now, with what Randy Orton's doing, Randy Orton is the top heel on WWE TV. Outside of Sasha Banks and Bayley, what Randy Orton is doing right now is the best thing in the entire company. Just seeing when Randy Orton is motivated, the guy is one of the. Ooh, let me put my chair up. When Randy Orton's motivated, the guy is one of the best in the world. He really is. I hate how they have Ric Flair coming out and calling Randy Orton the best wrestler alive because he's that greatest wrestling match ever from Backlash, which if far from it was a great match, but it's nowhere close to being the best match ever. I don't care what anybody says. Let's not be retarded here. Let's not be stupid. Let's not be stupid. But if you look at it, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre is the right way to go. If Brock Lesnar is at SummerSlam, which I won't believe it till I see it. Lesnar's gonna be at SummerSlam. I can't them. I know they don't want to bring Brock in because there's no fans, but still, it's SummerSlam. Brock's gonna be there. They're gonna pay Brock millions and millions of dollars to have a 10-minute match with Bobby Lashley. That should be what you should be building towards. If you want to wait till fans come back, fine. But I can't, especially if SummerSlam's a 2-night event this year. I cannot see them not doing Lesnar versus Lashley at SummerSlam. It makes too much sense. It's a dream match for most. Also, back to Randy Orton and Drew. I love Drew, right? And even though they could have done better with this whole Dolph Ziggler storyline, I love Drew, and I believe he should hold that WWE title till the end of the year, maybe up till next year's WrestleMania. With what they're doing right now with Randy Orton, you cannot tell me that Randy Orton should not be WWE champion. And I've heard rumors saying that Randy Orton has no intention and doesn't want to be WWE champion. But the thing about it is, Randy Orton, yes, he's not a part timer. He's on the the level above a part timer. He's there, most weeks. I know his contract has him not wrestling every single week, but most weeks he's there. And especially now that we're in a pandemic house show era where all of WWE programming is coming out of the performance center, it would make most sense for Randy Orton to be WWE champion. He'll be there 3 out of every 4 weeks, right? And he'll always give his hardest. He's one of the greatest of all time for a reason. And like I said, Edge. We all know Edge is coming back for his ultimate payback over Randy Orton. If you give Randy Orton the WWE Championship at SummerSlam, no one's gonna complain. Nobody's gonna complain. We all love Drew, and we all believe Drew should get a long, lengthy reign as WWE Champion. But if Randy Orton's the one to take the title off him, especially with the level of work Randy Orton is doing right now, nobody is going to complain because it's going to lead to a bigger storyline. You could have Edge come back, win the Royal Rumble. During that time, you could have Randy Orton feud with, Tommaso Ciampa. I believe Adam Cole is going to probably be moved over to Monday Night Raw soon, especially since he's not NXT champion anymore. Even though I personally would move uh, Adam Cole to SmackDown. I feel like it would make the most sense. But If Cole's on Raw, Randy Orton and Adam Cole feud would be incredible. And then you could bring Edge back and finally give him his payback on Randy Orton and have him also become WWE champion. I feel like that would be fantastic. And then you could play up to the storyline how Edge hasn't been WWE champion since back in 2011, 10 years ago, kind of similar to what they did with The Rock. Even though I don't think Rock should have ever been the guy to take the title off of CM Punk. I disagree heavily with that. I would, if like I said, if you bring the Undisputed Era up, I would bring them up to SmackDown, especially since SmackDown needs talent right now. But if they don't go down that direction, Adam Cole versus Randy Orton, I don't think anybody's gonna complain with that. It would be special. It would be great. Hell, if you wanted to, if you wanted to make a new star, if you wanted to do something unpredictable and make people talk, hell, you could bring Adam Cole up and have him defeat Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. There's different directions for this, but notice none of those directions include Dolph Ziggler. This is like real deal. Stewart said in the chat. This is a filler match for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship reign. No, like it doesn't matter what stipulation. You can do an I Quit match, Last Man Standing, Hell in a Cell, Street Fight, No Holds Barred, TLC. It doesn't matter what kind of match it is. Like I said, you could do Drew McIntyre handcuffed. I'm still gonna pick Drew McIntyre to win the match. You've done nothing to make me think that Dolph has any chance of winning. This is a filler match, and we all know it. Let's just be honest here. The bigger story is Edge versus Randy Orton, and what should happen at SummerSlam is Orton takes the title off of Drew. That's what I would do at the end of the day. Moving on, we had the Wyatt Swamp fight. Excuse me, guys. Oh man, the Wyatt Swamp fight: Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Why are we getting this? Because SmackDown has no talent. With Roman Reigns gone and Jeff Hardy in this stupid storyline with Sheamus, SmackDown has no talent. You don't even have a Daniel Bryan. I believe Daniel's at home with his wife. I know the Bellas are having their babies in the next couple weeks. Let's be serious here. You have nobody else that can be built up for the Universal Championship. You can maybe AJ Styles, but he's IC champion right now. It makes zero sense. Strowman versus Bray Wyatt's happening because they have nothing else. Nothing else. I love Bray Wyatt. I love Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt. I love OG Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt. I love The Fiend. But I'm not, uh, the only reason why I'm going to give this Swamp fight a chance is because if it was anybody else, I would be shitting over this. This is Bray Wyatt. We had nothing. We had no idea what to expect with the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania with John Cena. We had no idea what to expect. And it turned out to be one of the best things of the entire year. One of the best things on the entire WrestleMania card. Because Bray Wyatt and his creative mindset is something else. I know they're filming the Wyatt Swamp fight this week. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I have Bray Wyatt winning, and that leading to the Fiend finally getting the job done and becoming Universal Champion. Whenever that is, probably SummerSlam. It makes the most sense. But the only reason why I'm giving this Swamp fight a chance is because Bray Wyatt's creative mindset and his brain and his way of thinking is leagues beyond most of the freaking writers that write this show every single week. It's crazy. And I hope that WWE just lets him do his thing like they did with the Firefly Funhouse and just lets him go out and then just cause havoc. Cause havoc. I don't know. Knowing WWE, they'll probably have some kind of plastic alligator or some other nonsense there. But hell, it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I have Bray Wyatt winning because that's the only thing that makes sense for Bray Wyatt to get another title match. I see Stewart says, give me Shrek shouting, "What are you doing in my swamp?" And then this could be the greatest swamp fight of all time. It probably already is the greatest swamp fight of all time, right? How many swamp fights have we actually had? Like I said, for the cinematic aspect, it's probably going to be fantastic. Gotta be honest with you guys there. It's probably gonna be really good with the whole cinematic aspect and the way it's all written and drawn up. I think it's gonna be great, especially with the mindset Bray Wyatt has. Will it give the Universal Championship importance? And that is yet to be seen. It really has. Hopefully, they just do it correctly and they give us something good. If the feed wins at Stewart says if the feed wins at SummerSlam, I wouldn't care as much, and I should. He lost to Goldberg, a 53-year-old egomaniac who's only content on making kids happy. I agree with you there, bro. I agree with you there. Goldberg should have never won the Universal Championship to begin with. Wyatt should still be Universal Champion as we speak. Even if Roman never planned to be at WrestleMania, Strowman should have never been given that title. It should have always been Bray Wyatt. And it pisses me the hell off. That's the way they decide to put it. Let's be clear. Wyatt's gonna win the swap fight. Ooh. Let me stretch real quick because it's that time. It's that time you guys have been waiting for. It's time to talk about the true and the only real main event for Extreme Rules. And that is for the Raw Women's Championship, Sasha Banks versus Asuka. We're going to talk about that in just a sec. I'm going to play that clip from Nikki Bella one more time, just in case for people that didn't watch it earlier. Just because, I always got to remind you guys of how good and why Sasha Banks versus Asuka is good. It has match of the year potential. So give me one sec. I'm going to fill up my water bottle. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. I'm going to play the clip of what Nikki Bella said about Sasha Banks. And here we go.
I know we've seen a lot of her, but I don't think we've ever used her to her full potential as Sasha Banks. I think we always get her at her best a little bit, but I want to see what Becky and Charlotte have done. I know what we can get out of Sasha. And I think there's so much more to Sasha Banks that we can use in the women's division. And Sasha to me has always had it. And she's someone who I can see crossed over to mainstream. I just see a lot with her. And honestly, I know we've seen a lot of her, but I don't think we've ever used her to her full potential as Sasha Banks. I think we always get her at her best a little bit, but I want to see what Becky and Charlotte have done. I know what we can get out of Sasha. And I think there's so much more to Sasha Banks that we can use in the women's division. And Sasha to me has always had it. And she's someone who I can see crossed over to mainstream. I just see a lot with her. And honestly, I know we've seen a lot of her, but I don't think we've ever used.
All right, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I know most of you guys, I'm having trouble sitting in my damn chair, probably because I'm so excited. If there's one thing that I'm excited for on this card, it is Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Two of the best female wrestlers in the world. Sasha Banks, I always say she is the best female wrestler in the world. Asuka's right there. There are very few people in the women's division that are on Sasha Banks' level. I'd probably put, Io Shirai up there. I would probably put Asuka's up there. And that might be it. Maybe Tessa Blanchard. But that's probably it when you actually look at it. When you look at it. Sasha is the best female wrestler in the world. And Asuka's on her level. If you guys saw Sasha Banks versus Asuka from 2018, the night after the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, which Asuka won, they had one of the matches of the year. And the thing about it is, what's crazy about it is, some of you guys may not know this, is Sasha and Asuka only found out that they were wrestling each other 2 hours before the show. Because Sasha came in to Raw that night, and they told her they had nothing for her. That she wasn't going to be on the show. They had nothing booked for her. It was 2 hours before the show where WWE went up to Sasha and Asuka like, can you guys give us a match tonight? and they gave us one of the best matches of the year. And that was with no preparation. So imagine how good Sasha and Asuka could be with preparation. Yeah, I know. Gotta be honest here. Should Sasha be facing Asuka? Probably not. I know WWE's using the women's tag team titles to get Sasha and Bailey on all three shows, which has been the main reason why Sasha and Bailey have been carrying this company. Imagine how bad and unbearable Raw would be every single week if Sasha and Bailey were not on those shows. Because here's the thing, we like Sasha Banks and Bailey. Charlotte, we can't stand her. She doesn't elevate anybody. She doesn't make any of these shows better. She's just cringe. She makes the shows worse. Remember when Becky Lynch was hopping between Raw and SmackDown back when she first became the man? It was great because we all loved that character at the time. It was fantastic. But if you look at things now, you know, Becky's gone, Charlotte's gone. You have no other choice but to book Sasha Banks on Raw. And the thing about it is, Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair just came back last Monday. They just came back last Monday. So if you look at it in that approach, it only makes sense. It only makes sense that Sasha Banks challenges Asuka. What, you guys want to see Nia Jax versus Asuka? Hell no. Hell to the no. There's nobody else. And why are you guys complaining? It's going to be one of the best women's matches of the entire year. All I ask for is for Sasha and Asuka to get 20 to 30 minutes. It's that simple. That's all I want. That is all I want. Give them 20 to 30 minutes, and they will absolutely give you not only match of the night, match of the week, they'll give you a match of the year candidate. Sasha and Io Shirai did that with, well, how long was their match from the Great American Bash? What was it, like 15 minutes? And this is a pay-per-view match. You know, when Sasha has preparation, her matches are some of the best matches of all time. Come on. Well, here's my thing. I want Sasha to win every single match she's in. But it doesn't make sense here for Sasha to win the Raw Women's Championship. The bigger storyline is Bailey. We all know that. I already said it earlier in the podcast. Sasha taking the title off Bailey is what makes the most sense. And that's going to be a huge factor in this match. A huge factor. If you guys look at these things, man. Look. Asuka is the face of Monday Night Raw. Sasha and Bailey are the face of SmackDown. Unless you're planning to merge the titles and make one women's division, I just don't see them doing that. Raw's division is way better than the SmackDown women's division. But they're not going to merge the divisions. You know WWE ain't going to do that. If you were serious about merging the divisions, I would have Sasha win here. Because then you could do Sasha versus Bailey at SummerSlam, title for title, to have one definitive women's champion. But they're not going to do that. That is the only case you could make for Sasha Banks to win this match. But the thing about it is, Sasha shouldn't win this match, and she's not going to. Because the bigger storyline is Bailey. They've already basically confirmed that Asuka's going to win this match with the way things have gone. Sasha has had the upper hand on Asuka for weeks now. Sasha pinned Asuka clean in that Champions versus Challengers match. What was that, like 3 weeks ago? Sasha and Bailey defeated Asuka and Kairi Sane last Monday for the Women's Tag Team Championships clean. So Sasha has now 2 clean victories over Asuka in the last month. Yes, Asuka's had her moments. She defeated Bailey on Raw a couple weeks back. She also, cost Sasha the match against Io Shirai from the Great American Bash with the poison mist, which is, we all know that's Asuka's thing. But the thing about it is, they're not going to. And here's the thing. I was going to make a separate video on this earlier this week, but I got busy. So I was like, all right, let me just save it for the podcast here today. I am going to give you guys an argument right now, right here on the podcast, exclusive to today's podcast, of how and why Sasha Banks versus Bailey should happen at SummerSlam without breaking them up. Nobody has given this in the community, guys. You're only going to hear this exclusive to the Legit Shoot podcast. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet and you're listening to me right now, if you haven't left a like on the video yet, do it right now because I'm going to give you guys how Sasha and Bailey should happen without breaking them up. So let's get ready. I was going to make a separate video on this. Let me get my water. I'm getting excited. All right. Let's go back to WrestleMania, right? Let's go back to WrestleMania. You had the Fatal 5-Way elimination match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. If you guys remember my live reaction to that, if you guys were here for that stream, which, if you know, a little plug here, my live reactions to pay-per-views are some of the best things. I only do live reactions for big pay-per-views. We will be doing the live reaction for Extreme Rules. There's your plug for this weekend. Sasha should have won the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. I don't care what anybody says. She should have won the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania this past year. You know why? Because everyone agrees that Sasha's the bigger star. A lot of us also agree that even as great as Sasha and Bailey are together, we hate Sasha being aligned with Bailey. You know how pissed it makes me sometimes when Sasha comes out and they play her theme song just for it to get cut off in the Bailey theme song? And I hate Bailey's theme song. Bailey as a heel is great. The character is amazing. But her theme song is terrible. Sasha's theme song is one of the greatest of all time. But I cannot stand when they have Bailey interrupt Sasha's theme song. It pisses me off. I hate it. Sasha should have beat Bailey for the SmackDown Women's Championship because basically what they've been doing since last October when Bailey first turned heel and Sasha and Bailey both got drafted to SmackDown, right? Sasha's always been by Bailey's side. Always. She supported Bailey in every single one of her SmackDown Women's title defenses. And she's still doing that now, even though they are the tag team champions. What they should have done at WrestleMania, even though there was no crowd, it was still WrestleMania, right? Sasha Banks should have won the SmackDown Women's Championship and they should have done a role reversal, right? Role reversal. Now, Sasha is now SmackDown Women's Champion and Bailey is now supporting Sasha. Bailey's there with Sasha for all her title defenses. That's what they should have done. And they didn't do that. Which is whatever. Sasha will get her title win eventually. Not her title win, her WrestleMania win eventually. It's going to do that. SummerSlam. They should do what they didn't do at WrestleMania. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. I'm going to tell you guys how you book this. I'm going to tell you guys right now how you book Sasha Banks and Bailey from SummerSlam to WrestleMania right now. I know I'm building this up very slowly. But I'm telling you guys right now. This is how you do it. You ready? Sasha Banks versus Asuka should be the main event for Extreme Rules. Give it 20 to 30 minutes. It will be one of the best women's matches of all time. Of the entire year. We all know this. Arguably the two best female wrestlers in the world. I'm like, it's self-explanatory, right? This is what you do. At the end of the match, you have Bailey come out. Because what you should do is, backstage, remember when Bailey went up against Charlotte? And Bailey told Sasha, I need to do this alone. And Sasha stayed backstage in support of her friend. This is what you need to do. Sasha needs to do the same thing. Sasha needs to go up to Bailey before the match. And Bailey has her SmackDown Women's title. Sasha has to be like, I love you, girl, but don't come out. I need to do this on my own. I want Asuka for myself. So Sasha comes out. Sasha and Asuka having a 20, 30-minute classic. Sasha has Asuka maybe in the bank statement, or it looks like Sasha's about to win the match. Bailey comes out and interferes, right? Not on purpose, but she's trying to help Sasha, but it backfires. Sasha gets pissed at Bailey, and then that allows Asuka to get the victory, probably with a kick. Because I don't want to see Sasha tap out. No, I hate that. Who wants to see Sasha tap out, please? So now Bailey is pissed. You remember when Sasha went up against Lacey Evans for the Money in the Bank qualifier and Bailey interfered and it cost Sasha the match? They should do the same thing here. Sasha's so mad because she had the match won. She was about to become two belts Banks, right? You set up Sasha Banks and Bailey for SummerSlam. We have the match, right? You tease tension between the two, and it's a classic. It's amazing. Sasha versus Bailey happens at SummerSlam, right? Sasha defeats Bailey at SummerSlam, becomes SmackDown Women's Champion. And then after the match, this is what you do. This is what you do. You don't have Sasha and Bailey turn on one another. But after the match, you have Sasha grab Bailey by the hand and said, yes, even though we just destroyed each other, you're still my best friend. And I still love you. And then you have Sasha and Bailey continue their heel run. Now the roles are reversed. Sasha is now two belts Banks, and Bailey is now following in Sasha's footsteps. Right? And then you guys remember when Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt were aligned for a couple months there because Randy Orton was just using Bray Wyatt. Used to do something like that here. Randy Orton was still a babyface at the time. He acted like a heel, but he was still a babyface because he was like working undercover to destroy the Wyatt family. You can have Sasha be like a tweener during this time because we all know Sasha's turning babyface eventually. You're not turning Bailey back into a babyface because you had Bailey destroy any trace of her babyface character. When she cut her hair, she destroyed the Bailey buddies, all that good stuff, right? So this is what happens. Now you have Sasha SmackDown Women's Champion. And now Bailey's in support of her best friend. But now Bailey is slowly getting jealous. Sasha was jealous of Bailey when Bailey was SmackDown Women's Champion, but Sasha never challenged Bailey. Never did. Because that's how much respect and love Sasha has for her friendship with Bailey. But it's opposite. It's opposite here. Sasha's SmackDown Women's Champion. Bailey is still her best friend. But slowly as the months go by, you can see the jealousy get more and more in Bailey's eyes, right? And then around Royal Rumble time or Elimination Chamber time, Sasha is still the SmackDown Women's Champion. But then you have Bailey actually turn on Sasha for real this time. For real. Like 1000%, they're not getting back together. And then that leads to a babyface Sasha versus a heel Bailey at WrestleMania, no matter if there's a crowd or not. You have that match at WrestleMania. Sasha's the babyface, Bailey is the heel, and Sasha gets her first WrestleMania victory, retaining against Bailey in an all-time classic. Look at Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Look at Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. How many times have we seen that match? Hell, look at Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic. How many times have we seen that match? Imagine how good that would be for Sasha and Bailey. You have their first match happen at WrestleMania or at SummerSlam, right? But that's just the appetizer. The bigger story, the biggest match is Bailey turning on Sasha down the line and Sasha getting her first WrestleMania victory while retaining and taking down her best friend for good at WrestleMania. Come on. All right, I see Sleeping Angels. Sleeping Angels in the chat says, I don't want Sasha as a babyface. She's better than as a heel, guys. Yes, but with Becky not there, there's no top babyface for the women's division. Asuka, yes, you can make the argument there, but Asuka's going to lose that Raw Women's Championship eventually. They did tease on Raw Talk that they're going to do Asuka versus Kairi Sane because all the reports are saying that Kairi Sane's going back to Japan. I feel like it would be spectacular if at SummerSlam they do Asuka versus Kairi Sane, and it's like a Kairi Sane retirement match or Kairi Sane's final WWE match, right? and you have Asuka and Kairi Sane go up against each other for the Raw Women's title. After that, you build up Shayna Baszler to take the Raw Women's Championship from Asuka, and then you build up Bianca to take the Raw Women's Championship from Shayna at WrestleMania. That's the way I would do it. And then, but by that time, Becky may be back from then. Charlotte and maybe even Ronda Rousey could be back. Like, come on. You don't have a baby face, or Asuka is the top baby face for the women's division. But we all know Sasha should be in that position. Yes, heel Sasha Banks is better than babyface Sasha Banks. But the thing about it is, babyface Sasha is great too. Remember back in 2016 when Sasha first turned babyface against Charlotte? Sasha was great during that time. WWE didn't book her the way she should have, but Sasha was getting, amazing pops. She was cutting great promos. She was a wicked great babyface. Sasha has all the tools to be the top babyface in the women's division. It doesn't matter if Sasha's a heel or a babyface. She's still gonna be a badass. Like I said, why do you think I played the Nikki Bella clip 3 times on this podcast? Because what Nikki Bella said was 100% facts. 100% facts. It should be easy to book Sasha Banks as the top star of the women's division. Becky's not there right now. Asuka's going to eventually lose that title to Shayna Baszler. So who's going to be your top babyface star then? Only Lee Sasha. You're not turning Bayley babyface. Nobody wants to see Lacey Evans as a babyface. Nobody wants to see Alexa Bliss as a top babyface star. It makes 100% facts. I said facts. I mean sense. It makes 100% sense. Turn Sasha babyface and make her the new Becky Lynch of the women's division. And let her run with the SmackDown Women's title for a year. Give her the AJ Lee title reign. Give her the Nikki Bella title reign. Give her the Bayley title reign. Give her the Becky Lynch title reign. Sasha should be SmackDown Women's Champion for a year, if not longer. She should win the SmackDown Women's Championship at SummerSlam, stay heel, and then eventually Bayley turns on her as we enter the road to WrestleMania next year. Sasha turns babyface and continues being SmackDown Women's Champion for most of 2021. And then finally, Sasha could show to the world that finally making her champion and finally letting her run with the title was the way things should have been all along. I've been saying this for 5 years. Sasha deserves a 1-year title reign. You gave it to everybody else. Sasha's the only person who has not been given that opportunity. And it's a damn shame. It really is. It really is. All right? If you let Sasha run as the SmackDown Women's Champion, first as a heel, then turn her babyface, it'll be great. It really would be. Sleeping Angel says, I'm just worried that WWE will make her cringeworthy as a babyface. Not if you let Sasha do her own thing, right? Look at what they're doing with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle has some creative control over his character. I feel like Sasha Banks right now is finally earning the trust of Vince McMahon. With Becky not there, with Ronda not there, with Charlotte not there right now, why do you think Sasha's on all 3 shows? Because he's that good. And the thing about it is, Sasha was originally supposed to turn babyface after WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer confirmed this. She was originally supposed to turn babyface after WrestleMania. And I feel like that's still the plan. It's just that we're waiting for WWE to finally pull the trigger on the Sasha Banks and Bayley feud. No better time than the present. No better time than the present. If Sasha and Bayley actually turn on each other after Extreme Rules, I'm not going to sit here and complain. Not going to complain at all. But because Sasha Banks and Bayley are doing so well as a tag team right now, they have made the women's tag team titles the best titles in all of WWE in the last month and a half. Better than the Raw tag team titles, better than the SmackDown tag team titles, better than the NXT tag team titles. They have elevated the women's division as the best tag team division in the company at the moment. That was never done when Asuka, and I love Asuka and Kairi Sane, but they never did that when Asuka and Kairi Sane held those titles. They never did that when Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross held those titles. They never did that when the Iconics held those titles. The only reason why I bring this up, the only reason why I gave you this whole scenario of Sasha Banks and Bailey happening without breaking them up is because they're doing so well as a tag team right now. And the thing about it is, I don't want WWE to rush the Sasha Banks and Bailey feud. Plus, plus, I don't want Sasha Banks and Bailey to happen in front of no live crowd. That's the reason why I'm giving you guys this story. If you have it happen at SummerSlam without breaking them up, you can set it up for an even bigger match at WrestleMania next year in front of a live crowd if things get back to normal. See, I just gave you guys this entire storyline. Sasha Banks and Bailey happens at SummerSlam with both of them as heels. Yes, I know people don't like heel versus heel and all that kind of scenario, but here with Sasha Banks and Bailey, no one's going to complain because it's Sasha Banks and Bailey. Come on, it makes the most logical sense. Sasha Banks and Bailey should happen at SummerSlam without them breaking up, because that sets up for an even bigger match with Sasha Banks and Bailey when things get back to normal and we finally have live crowds again. Sasha Banks and Bailey should happen at SummerSlam, heel versus heel, to set up for a babyface Sasha versus heel Bailey at WrestleMania next year. It's that simple. So let me tie this up with a bow and let me tell you guys, for if you just you're confused. Asuka should beat Sasha Banks at Extreme Rules since they're not merging the divisions. That should happen, right? Asuka should defeat Sasha Banks due to a Bailey interference. Sasha gets angry with Bailey, and the two end up facing at SummerSlam, heel versus heel. Sasha becomes champion, but they remain best friends. As the months go by, Bailey gets more and more jealous in a different way than Sasha did over the last year. Then Bailey finally gets angered enough. She's so jealous of Sasha holding her SmackDown Women's Championship that Bailey turns on Sasha, turning Sasha to a babyface. And that sets up for WrestleMania, right? Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship, and then Sasha Banks versus Bailey for the SmackDown Women's Championship, with Sasha retaining and finally getting her WrestleMania victory in a storyline that will make everyone happy. If you guys think I should put this into a separate video, I'll definitely do that. But I feel like I did a good job explaining it right here, right now. And I'll probably repeat it depending on what happens on Extreme Rules this Sunday. I'll probably repeat what I'm saying right now then for that review. But hell, if you want to keep Sasha Banks and Bailey as a tag team, which it would be a smart decision with how good they are carrying the company right now, just do that. It's so simple. It's so simple. Let me know what you guys think about that, man. Sasha Banks and Bailey should happen at SummerSlam without them breaking up, leading to a bigger match and a bigger story, with Bailey eventually turning on Sasha on the road to WrestleMania, leading to Sasha Banks versus Bailey at WrestleMania with a babyface Sasha retaining and finally getting that WrestleMania victory. And then Sasha should go on to continue holding the SmackDown Women's title for most, if not all, of 2021. You can have her go up against, whoever, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, because whoever Sasha Banks goes up against, she's going to elevate because he's the best female wrestler in the world. It's that simple. It's that simple. I agree with you, Stewart. Stewart says Bailey gets more time on the mic than Sasha. I notice that all the time because Sasha gets right to the point. I do want to see Sasha Banks have more mic time because when Sasha has, more mic time, she cuts really good promos. Really good. Let's go watch Sasha Banks and Charlotte's feud. Sasha cuts some amazing promos during that feud. It's that simple. Sasha is better than Bailey on the mic. It's just that they don't give Sasha the opportunity. I agree with you there. But like I said, let me know what you guys think. If you guys like my theory, if you guys like my scenario of how Sasha Banks and Bailey should be booked, leave a like on the video right now if you haven't already. But other than that, guys, that's about it. That's about it. Hopefully, I explained it all really well. We went an hour and 40 minutes, which is longer than most of our podcasts. This is longer than a paper review. I didn't expect to go this long, but you guys know when I get passionate about Sasha Banks, I could go on for 2 hours. But let me know what you guys thought about that. But Sasha Banks and Asuka, either way, no matter what happens at Extreme Rules, no matter if Sasha wins, no matter if Sasha loses, no matter what happens at Extreme Rules, Sasha Banks and Asuka should be the main event and should be given 20 to 30 minutes. If they do that, I will not complain with any ending. If Asuka win, as long as Sasha doesn't tap out, you can give me any almost any ending other than that. As long as Sasha doesn't tap out, you can give me any ending. As long as Sasha and Asuka are the main event of Extreme Rules, because they have the only feud that's been booked properly and built up correctly. Sasha Banks versus Asuka should be the main event of Extreme Rules and given 20 to 30 minutes. I don't care what anybody says. All right. But either way, no matter what happens with Sasha versus Asuka at Extreme Rules, the biggest story is Sasha Banks versus Bailey. And I think we all can agree there. But other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today, man. Shout out to everybody that came through to the chat. If you guys stayed the entire show, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, man. You guys are the real ones. But other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. I went through all of the Extreme Rules pay-per-views. I don't know if any other matches are going to be announced. I could definitely see one of these 6 matches happening on the pre-show. Maybe they will announce some kind of match for the pre-show, but I don't know. But really quick, let me go through the match card one more time. Drew McIntyre is going to defeat Dolph Ziggler. I have Bray Wyatt winning the Swamp Fight against Strowman. I have Asuka defeating Sasha Banks. I have Bayley defeating Nikki Cross. I have Seth defeating Rey Mysterio in the Eye for an Eye match. And I have MVP defeating Apollo Crews for the U.S. Championship. Let me know what you guys have for your predictions. Put them in the chat or the comment section. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. It really helps the video out. It helps it get pushed into the recommended section so it gets more eyes on the podcast. If you guys are new, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, enable notifications by clicking the bell right next to my name, Facebook TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Remember, guys, Sunday night, right at 7 o'clock, we will be live streaming. We will be doing a live reaction to everything on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And then right after that, we will have a live Extreme Rules review right here on the podcast on the channel. Same spot Sunday night is going to be a big night. I'm very excited for Sasha Banks and Asuka. I know you guys are as well. And definitely we'll just have to see what happens, how it all goes down. Let me know what you guys think down below one more time. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description down below. I'm going to get out of here. I got to go get a haircut. You guys stay safe and healthy. Thank you guys. As always, make sure to share the video out on your social media page so people know what we're doing over here. Stay safe and healthy, guys. I'll see you guys most likely for the SmackDown review this weekend and then Sunday for Extreme Rules. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe. Stay healthy once again. God bless. Peace.